Admiral Sarah Chun stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Station, watching her world die. Through the massive windows, she could see the battle raging in space around Earth's moon. Human ships fought bravely against the alien fleet, but they were losing badly. The enemy ships were huge and dark, like metal mountains floating in space. They fired beams of red light that cut through human warships like hot knives through butter. For every alien ship destroyed, 10 human vessels turned into burning metal and screaming voices over the radio. "Admiral, we've lost the destroyer Courage," reported Lieutenant Kim from her station. Her voice shook as she spoke. "The cruiser New York is not responding. I think ... I think they're all gone." Sarah's hands gripped the rail in front of her. She had been fighting aliens for 2 years, but never like this. The Vorthic hegemony had sent their main fleet to Earth. Thousands of their ships darkened the space around humanity's home world. Earth's defense fleet was strong, but not strong enough for this. "How many ships do we have left?" Sarah asked. 47 fighting ships, Admiral. Maybe less by now." Sarah closed her eyes. When the battle started 6 hours ago, they had over 300 ships. The aliens had more than 2,000. The math was simple and terrible. "Admiral," called Captain Torres from the communications desk. "I'm getting reports from Mars base. The aliens hit them first. The base is gone. Everyone there is dead." Sarah felt cold inside. Mars base had 50,000 people. Good people. Scientists, engineers, families. Now they were all dead because Earth could not protect them. The bridge shook as alien weapons hit the defense station. The lights went out for a moment, then came back on. Sarah could smell smoke in the air. "Shields are down to 30%, reported the chief engineer. "If they hit us like that 2 more times, we're finished." Sarah looked out at the battle again. A human carrier ship exploded in a ball of fire. She could see escape pods flying away from the wreck, but alien fighters were hunting them down one by one. No mercy, no prisoners. The Vorthic had come to wipe out humanity completely. "Admiral Chun to all ships," she said into her radio. "Fall back to defensive line 7. Repeat, all ships fall back." But there were so few voices that answered. Too few. Sarah had trained for this moment her whole life. She joined the Space Navy when she was 18, back when humans first met aliens. Most aliens were friendly, or at least willing to trade and talk. But the Vorthic were different. They wanted to rule the galaxy, and humans were in their way. The war started small. Border fights between human colonies and Vorthic outposts. But it grew bigger and bigger. Now the aliens had brought their main fleet to Earth itself. If they won here, humanity would be finished forever. "Admiral," Lieutenant Kim said quietly, "there's a message coming in. It's from Antarctica. Very high security level." Sarah turned. To look at her. Antarctica? What could they want at a time like this? The message says it's about Project Galaxyrender. "Do you know what that is?" Sarah felt her heart skip. Project Galaxyrender was so secret that only a few people in the government knew it existed. Sarah knew about it because she was one of the highest commanders in Earth's military. But she had never been told what the project actually was. "Put the call through to my private office," Sarah said. "You have the bridge, Captain Torres." Sarah walked to her small office behind the bridge. The walls shook again as more alien weapons hit the station. She sat down at her desk and pressed a button. A man's face appeared on her screen. He was old, maybe 70 years old, with white hair and tired eyes. His skin looked pale, like he had not seen sunlight in many years. Behind him, Sarah could see metal walls and blinking lights. "Admiral Chun," the man said. "My name is Dr. Marcus Vega. I'm calling from the Galaxyrender Research Facility." "Dr. Vega," Sarah said. "I'm a little busy right now. My planet is under attack. I know, Dr. Vega said. That's why I'm calling. I have something that might help. Sarah stared at him. Help? Doctor, we're fighting the biggest alien fleet anyone has ever seen. Unless you have a magic weapon hidden down there, I don't think there's anything that can help us now. Dr. Vega smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Actually, Admiral, that's exactly what I have. A weapon, but it's not magic. It's much worse. And magic. The station shook again. Sarah could hear alarms going off outside her office. What are you talking about? Sarah asked. I've been working on this project for 30 years, Dr. Vega said. 30 years alone in the ice, building. Something that should never have been built. But now that the aliens are here, we don't have a choice anymore. Doctor, just tell me what you have. Dr. Vega leaned forward. His eyes looked haunted, like a man who had seen terrible things. I have a weapon that can destroy anything, Admiral. Anything at all. It doesn't just blow things up. It makes them stop existing completely, but using it might destroy us too. Sarah felt her stomach drop. What do you mean? The weapon works by breaking the laws of reality, Admiral. It tears holes in the fabric of space and time itself. I've tested it on small scales, and it works perfectly. Too perfectly. But I've never tried it on something as big as an alien. Fleet. I don't know what will happen. Outside, Sarah could hear someone shouting orders. More ships were dying. More people were screaming and dying in the cold of space. How long would it take to get this weapon ready? Sarah asked. It's ready. Now, Dr. Vega said. I've been waiting for 30 years for someone to ask me to use it. But Admiral, you need to understand. This weapon scares me more than the aliens do. If something goes wrong, it could destroy our entire solar system. Sarah looked out through her office window. She could see Earth below, blue and beautiful, and helpless. Billions of people live down there. Children playing in parks. Old people sitting on porches. Artists and teachers and doctors and farmers. All of them would die if the aliens won. How do we use it? Sarah asked. You need to send me your best pilot, Dr. Vega said. Someone brave enough to fly into the middle of that alien fleet. Someone who won't run away when they see what this weapon really does. Sarah thought for a moment. I know someone. Commander Jake Morrison. He's crazy enough to try anything. Good, Dr. Vega said. Send him to Antarctica immediately. I'll be waiting. The call ended. Sarah sat alone in her office, listening to the sounds of battle outside. She had just agreed to use a weapon that might destroy everything. But what choice did she have? The aliens were winning. In a few hours, they would start bombing Earth itself. Sarah stood up and walked back to the bridge. Lieutenant Kim looked at her with hopeful eyes. Get me Commander Morrison, Sarah said. Tell him to come here immediately. And prepare a fast ship to take him to Antarctica. Yes, Admiral. Sarah looked out at the battle again. Human ships were still dying, but maybe, just maybe, Dr. Vega's terrible weapon could save them all. Or destroy them trying. Either way, she thought, it was better than giving up. Commander Jake Morrison ran through the halls of the Earth Defense Station. His boots made loud sounds on the metal floor as he hurried to Admiral Chun's office. Behind him, he could hear the station shaking from alien weapons. The war was getting closer to Earth every minute. Jake was 35 years old and had been flying in space for 15 years. He had fought the Vorthic aliens many times before. He was good at his job, maybe the best pilot in the human fleet. But he had never seen a battle like this one. The aliens had too many ships. They were too strong. Jake reached Admiral Chun's office and knocked on the door. Come in, the Admiral said. Jake walked inside and stood straight. Admiral Chun looked tired and worried. Through the window behind her, Jake could see the battle in space. Human ships were exploding like fireworks. "Commander Morrison," Admiral Chun said, "I have a mission for you. It might be the most important mission in human history." "I'm ready, Admiral," Jake said. "I'm sending you to Antarctica. There's a secret research base down there. A scientist named Dr. Vega has been working on a new weapon. He says it can destroy the alien fleet." Jake felt hope rise in his chest. "What kind of weapon?" Admiral Chun looked out the window. "I don't know exactly. Dr. Vega wouldn't tell me much over the radio." But Jake, he seemed scared of his own weapon. He said it might be as dangerous to US as it is to the aliens. "Admiral, if there's any chance this weapon can save Earth, I'll take it." "I hope you'd say that." Admiral Chun turned back to him. "Take the fastest ship we have. Get to Antarctica as quickly as possible. And Jake, be careful. I have a feeling we're about to learn something we might not want to know." 20 minutes later, Jake was flying through Earth's atmosphere in a small, fast ship called the Lightning. The ship was built for speed, not fighting. It could fly from the defense station to Antarctica in less than an hour. As Jake flew toward the South Pole, he could see the battle in space through his ship's windows. The alien fleet looked like a dark cloud around Earth. Red beams of light shot back and forth between human and alien ships. But there were fewer human ships now. Much fewer. Jake landed at the research base just as the sun was setting over the ice. The base was hidden under the ground. From above, it looked like just another hill of snow. But Jake knew there were people working down there, people who might have humanity's last hope. A metal door opened in the side of the hill. Jake walked through it and found himself in a long tunnel. The walls were made of metal and concrete. Lights hung from the ceiling. It felt cold and empty. At the end of the tunnel, Jake met Dr. Vega. The old scientist looked even more tired than he had on the video call. His white hair was messy, and his clothes looked like he had been wearing them for days. "Commander Morrison," Dr. Vega said, "thank you for coming so quickly." "Dr. Vega," Jake said, "Admiral Chun told me you have a weapon that can stop the aliens." "Yes," Dr. Vega said, "but first, let me show you something." Dr. Vega led Jake deeper into the base. They walked through more tunnels and past many doors. Behind some of the doors, Jake could hear machines humming and computers beeping. Finally, they reached a large room with windows looking into space above them. "Look up there," Dr. Vega said. Jake looked up and saw something that made his blood run cold. The battle in space was getting worse. Human ships were dying faster now. But that wasn't what scared him. What scared him was what he could see on the computers in the room. The computers were showing messages that human forces had captured from alien communications. Jake could read the translations on the screens. "Run faster," said one message. "They're still following us," said another. "We should never have come this way," said a third. Jake turned to Dr. Vega. "Doctor, these messages, it sounds like the aliens are running away from something." "That's exactly right," Dr. Vega said. "The Vorthik aren't trying to conquer us, Commander. They're trying to escape from something else. Something much worse. And Earth is right in their path." Jake felt sick. What are they running from? Dr. Vega walked to a computer and pressed some buttons. The screen showed a map of the galaxy. There were red dots moving across the map, heading toward Earth. "We don't know exactly what they are," Dr. Vega said. "The Vorthik call them the Void Devourers. From what we can understand, they're not like normal life forms. They don't live on planets or breathe air. They live in the empty spaces between stars. And they eat entire solar systems." Jake stared at the map. "How do they eat solar systems?" "We think they consume the energy that holds matter together," Dr. Vega said. "Stars, planets, spaceships, people, everything just stops existing when they touch it. The Vorthik have been running from them for months. But now the Void Devourers are getting close to this part of the galaxy. How close? Jake asked. If they keep moving at their current speed, they'll reach our solar system in about 6 months. Jake sat down in a chair. His legs felt weak. First, humanity was losing a war against the Vorthik. Now there was something even worse coming. Doctor, Jake said, you said you have a weapon. Can it stop these Void Devourers? Dr. Vega was quiet for a long time. Then he said, come with me. Let me show you what I've built. They walked deeper into the base, past more rooms full of computers and machines. Finally, they reached a huge room with a high ceiling. In the center of the room sat a strange ship. The ship was not like anything Jake had ever seen. It was long and thin, like a needle. Its surface was black and seemed to absorb light. Strange symbols were carved into its sides. Looking at it made Jake feel uncomfortable, like the ship was wrong somehow. This is the Prometheus, Dr. Vega said. I built it specifically to carry the Galaxyrender device. What exactly does this device do? Jake asked. Dr. Vega walked up to the ship and put his hand on its side. The Galaxyrender doesn't destroy matter, Commander. It destroys the rules that hold reality together. When you fire it, it creates a hole in space and time itself. Everything in that area simply stops existing. Not destroyed, erased from reality completely. Jake felt cold. How big an area? That depends on how much power we use. In my tests, I've erased small asteroids. But if we use full power, we could erase an area of space several thousand miles across. That's big enough to destroy the entire alien fleet, Jake said. Yes, Dr. Vega said. But Commander, you need to understand what you're volunteering for. I've only tested this weapon on a small scale. I don't know what will happen when we use it at full power. It might work perfectly and save Earth, but it might also tear a hole in reality that we can't close. It might destroy our entire solar system. Jake looked at the strange ship. And you want me to fly this thing into the middle of the alien fleet? The weapon has to be fired from close range, Dr. Vega said. And once you fire it, the ship will probably be destroyed. You'll be flying into the center of the largest space battle in human history, carrying a weapon that might destroy everything. It's a suicide mission, Commander. Jake was quiet for a minute. Through the walls of the underground base, he could feel vibrations from the battle above. More human ships were dying. More people were screaming in space. Doctor, Jake said, if I don't do this, what happens to Earth? The aliens will destroy our defense fleet in a few hours. Then they'll start bombing our planet. Everyone will die. And if the Void Devourers come, everyone in the galaxy will die. Jake nodded. Then I don't really have a choice, do I? Dr. Vega smiled sadly. No, Commander, none of us do. How long will it take to get the weapon ready? 2 hours, Dr. Vega said. I'll need that long to charge the device to full power. Use that time to learn how to fly the Prometheus. It's not like any ship you've ever piloted. Jake looked at the black ship again. It still made him feel uncomfortable. But if it could save humanity, he would fly it straight into hell. All right, Doctor, Jake said. Let's save the world. 2 hours later, Jake Morrison sat in the pilot's seat of the Prometheus. The ship felt strange under his hands. The controls were not like any ship he had ever flown. Instead of normal buttons and switches, there were smooth panels that glowed when he touched them. The ship seemed to respond to his thoughts as much as his hands. Dr. Vega stood beside him, checking the Galaxyrender device one last time. The weapon was built into the ship itself. Jake could not see it, but he could feel it. The air around him felt heavy and wrong, like the space itself was holding its breath. "The device is ready," Dr. Vega said. "Full power. Remember, Commander, you need to get as close to the center of the alien fleet as possible. The closer you are, the more ships the weapon will destroy." Jake nodded. Through the ship's windows, he could see the battle raging in space above Antarctica. The human fleet was almost gone now. Only a few dozen ships were still fighting. Earth's moon was covered with the wreckage of destroyed spacecraft. "How do I fire the weapon?" Jake asked. Dr. Vega pointed to a red panel on the control board. "Press that panel and hold it for 3 seconds. But Commander, once you fire it, you'll have maybe 10 seconds before the weapon destroys your ship. 2. Try to get away if you can." "I understand," Jake said. Dr. Vega stepped back from the ship. "Commander Morrison, what you're about to do will change everything. If the weapon works, you'll save Earth. But you'll also show the universe that humans have power we should not have. I pray that we're ready for what comes next." Jake did not answer. He started the ship's engines and felt the Prometheus lift off from the underground hangar. The ship moved smoothly and quietly, like it was floating through water instead of air. As Jake flew up through Earth's atmosphere, he could see the alien fleet more clearly. There were thousands of Vorthic ships arranged in a huge formation around Earth. The largest ships were the size of cities. The smallest were still bigger than anything humans had ever built. Jake activated his radio. "Earth Defense Station, this is Commander Morrison in the Prometheus. I'm beginning my attack run." Admiral Chun's voice came back immediately. "Jake, be careful up there. We're tracking over 3,000 alien ships. That's more than we thought." "I see them, Admiral," Jake said. "Dr. Vega says his weapon can handle them all. Godspeed, Commander." Jake turned off the radio and flew toward the alien fleet. The Prometheus was small and fast. Its black surface was hard to see against the darkness of space. Jake hoped the aliens would not notice him until it was too late. As he got closer to the enemy fleet, Jake could see the alien ships more clearly. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Their dark metal hulls were covered with strange patterns that seemed to move in the light. Red energy flowed along their surfaces like blood through veins. The aliens were still fighting the last human ships. Jake watched a human cruiser explode under the fire from 6 alien fighters. The explosion was bright and brief. Then there was nothing left but pieces of metal drifting in space. Jake felt anger rise in his chest. These aliens had come to destroy his world and kill his people. Now he was going to show them what humans could do when they were desperate. The Prometheus slipped between 2 large alien ships without being seen. Jake was now inside the enemy fleet. Alien ships surrounded him on all sides. Their weapons fired constantly at the remaining human forces, but they had not noticed the small black ship moving through their formation. Jake flew deeper into the fleet, looking for the perfect place to use the weapon. Dr. Vega had told him to get as close to the center as possible. The center was where the largest alien ships were gathered. If Jake could destroy those, the rest of the fleet might retreat. Suddenly, alarms started going off inside alien ships around him. Jake saw lights flashing on their hulls. They had found him. "Unknown ship," came a voice over the radio in broken human language. "Stop and surrender. You are surrounded." Jake smiled grimly. "Come and get me," he said. Alien fighters started moving toward the Prometheus, their weapons charged up, ready to fire. But Jake was not worried about them anymore. He was close enough to the center of the fleet. It was time to use Dr. Vega's terrible weapon. Jake reached for the red panel. His hand stopped just above it. For a moment, he thought about what Dr. Vega had said. This weapon might destroy everything. It might tear a hole in reality that could never be closed. But then Jake looked around at the alien ships. Thousands of them, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a human city. If he did not stop them here, they would bomb Earth until nothing was left alive. Jake pressed the red panel and held it down. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. The alien fighters kept moving toward him. Their weapons kept charging. The universe seemed normal. Then everything changed. The space around the Prometheus began to ripple like water. Jake could see waves moving through the darkness, making the stars bend and twist. The alien ships closest to him started to shiver, as if they were made of smoke instead of metal. Then the first ship simply disappeared. Not destroyed, not exploded. Just gone. One moment it was there. The next moment there was empty space where it had been. More ships began to vanish. The effect spread outward from the Prometheus like a circle of nothingness. Alien ships the size of cities just stopped existing. Their crews, their weapons, their engines, everything erased from reality in an instant. Jake watched in amazement and horror as hundreds of alien ships disappeared around him. The weapon was working better than Dr. Vega had hoped. But something else was happening too. Where the ships had been, Jake could see through space itself. The stars behind the vanished ships looked different, wrong, like he was seeing them through broken glass. And in those broken places, Jake thought he could see things moving. Dark things that should not exist. The Galaxyrender device was not just destroying the alien ships. It was making holes in the fabric of reality itself. More and more alien ships vanished. The effect was spreading faster now, moving through the fleet like fire through dry grass. In less than a minute, over 1,000 alien ships had been erased from existence. But the remaining aliens were not just sitting there. They were running. Jake could hear their radio transmissions, full of fear and panic. The weapon. The humans have the same weapon. We must retreat. Call all ships. No, not here. They cannot have that technology. Jake realized that the aliens recognized Dr. Vega's weapon. They had seen something like it before. That was why they were so afraid. The alien fleet began to pull. Back from Earth, the ships that were not caught in the weapon's effect turned and flew away as fast as they could. Within minutes, the space around Earth was clear of enemy ships. Jake had won. The alien invasion was over. But as he looked at the holes in space where the vanished ships had been, he felt a chill run down his spine. The holes were getting bigger, and the dark things moving behind them were getting clearer. Dr. Vega's voice came over the radio. "Commander Morrison, get away from there immediately. The spatial distortions are growing." Jake tried to start his engines, but the Prometheus would not respond. The ship was caught in the weapon's effect. The space around him was breaking apart, and he was trapped in the middle of it. "I can't move," Jake shouted into his radio. "The ship is stuck. The weapon is still active," Dr. Vega said. "It's feeding on the energy released by the destroyed ships. You have to shut it down." Jake looked at his control panel. Half the instruments were dead. The ones that still worked showed readings that made no sense. Reality itself was coming apart around his ship. Through the cracks in space, Jake could see more clearly now. There were things on the other side. Dark, hungry things that had been waiting for a way into this universe. The weapon had opened a door for them, and they were coming through. "Dr. Vega," Jake said quietly into his radio, "I think we just made a very big mistake." The first Void Devourer slipped through a crack in space near Jake's ship. It looked like a piece of living darkness with no solid form. Where it touched normal space, stars went out. Matter simply stopped existing. Jake realized that humanity had won the battle against the Vorthik. But they had also announced their presence to something much worse. Something that had been hunting the Vorthik across the galaxy. And now it knew where Earth was. 6 months had passed since the battle in space above Earth. Commander Jake Morrison sat in the medical wing of the Earth Defense Station, staring at his hands. They looked normal, but Jake knew they were not normal anymore. Nothing about him was normal anymore. Dr. Sarah Kim, the station's chief medical officer, was reading from her computer screen. She had been studying Jake for months, trying to understand what the Galaxyrender weapon had done to him. "Your brain activity is still changing," Dr. Kim said. "The energy from the weapon seems to have altered your nervous system in ways we don't understand." Jake nodded, but did not speak. He could see things now that other people could not see. When he looked at the walls around him, he could see the tiny spaces between the atoms. He could see how reality was held together by invisible forces. And sometimes in those spaces, he could see the dark things waiting to get in. The Void Devourers were still out there. After Jake had used the weapon, only a few of them had managed to slip through the cracks in space before Dr. Vega found a way to close the holes. But those few had been enough to destroy 3 star systems near Earth. Billions of people had died before the holes could be sealed. "Jake," Dr. Kim said gently, "you need to eat something. You haven't had a real meal in 3 days. Food tastes like nothing," Jake said. "Everything tastes like nothing now." Dr. Kim looked worried. Jake knew she was trying to help him, but there was nothing she could do. The weapon had changed him into something that was not quite human anymore. He could feel the change getting stronger every day. Admiral Chun walked into the medical room. She looked older than she had 6 months ago. The war with the Vorthik was over, but the threat from the Void Devourers was much worse. "Jake," Admiral Chun said, "I need you to come to a meeting. Dr. Vega has something important to tell us." Jake stood up slowly. His body felt strange, like it was not quite solid. Sometimes he felt like he might just float away if he was not. Careful. They walked to the main conference room. Dr. Vega was there, along with several other scientists and military officers. On the big screen at the front of the room was a map of the galaxy. It was covered with red marks. "The situation is getting worse," Dr. Vega said as everyone sat down. "We've detected more reality storms appearing throughout human space. The Void Devourers are using them to move from system to system." Admiral Chun looked at the map. "How many systems have we lost?" 17, said Dr. Martinez, the head of the science department. "That's 17 complete solar systems. Every planet, every space station, every living thing, all gone." Jake stared at the red marks on the map. Each one represented billions of dead people. And it was his fault. He had fired the weapon that let the Void Devourers into this universe. "What about the new Galaxyrender devices?" Admiral Chun asked. "Are they ready?" Dr. Vega nodded. "We've built 12 more weapons based on the original design. But Admiral, I must say again that using them is extremely dangerous. Each time we fire one, we risk creating more holes in reality. And if we don't use them, the Void Devourers will destroy everything anyway." Admiral Chun said. Jake listened to them talk, but his mind was somewhere else. He could feel something wrong with the space around them. There was a darkness coming. It was still far away, but getting closer. "They're coming here," Jake said suddenly. Everyone in the room turned to look at him. Jake rarely spoke during meetings anymore. "What did you say?" Admiral Chun asked. "The Void Devourers," Jake said. "They're coming to Earth. I can feel them, moving through the spaces between reality. They'll be here in less than a month." Dr. Vega leaned forward. "Jake, how can you know that?" Jake looked at the old scientist. "The weapon changed me, Dr. Vega. I can see things now. I can see the cracks in space where reality is weak. And I can see them moving through those cracks." The room was quiet for a long moment, and Admiral Chun spoke. "If Jake is right, We need to prepare our defenses immediately. Dr. Vega, how many Galaxyrender weapons do we have operational? 12, as I said. But Admiral, there's something else you need to know. We've received a message from the Vorthik. Admiral Chun looked surprised. The Vorthik? I thought they had retreated to the other side of the galaxy. Dr. Vega pressed a button, and the map changed to show a video message. A Vorthik alien appeared on the screen. It looked like a tall, thin person covered in dark scales. Its eyes were large and black, and when it spoke, its voice sounded like wind through metal. Humans of Earth, the alien said. I am Commander Zeth of the Vorthik hegemony. We know you have the reality weapon. We know you used it against our fleet. We also know that you have awakened the Devourers. The alien paused, and Jake could see fear in its black eyes. The Devourers have destroyed half of our empire, Commander Zeth continued. Thousands of our worlds are gone. Trillions of our people are dead. But we have learned something important. We have learned how the ancient races fought the Devourers long ago. Admiral Chun leaned forward. What did the ancient races do? They worked together, the alien said. No single race was strong enough to stop the Devourers alone. But when many races combined their technology, they found a way to drive the Devourers back into the void between universes. The message continued. We offer you an alliance, humans. We will share our technology with you. We will fight beside you against the Devourers. In return, you must share your reality weapon with us. Together, we might have a chance to save both our peoples. The message ended. The room was quiet again. Can we trust them? Admiral Chun asked. Dr. Vega shrugged. A month ago, they were trying to destroy us. But now we're all facing something much worse. The enemy of my enemy, as they say. Jake stood up suddenly. The others looked at him with concern. The alliance won't work, Jake said. Why not? Admiral. Chun asked. Jake walked to the window and looked out at space. He could see the stars, but he could also see the dark spaces between them. In those spaces, something was moving. Because the Galaxyrender weapons won't stop them, Jake said. Dr. Vega, when you built the first weapon, you studied artifacts from ancient civilizations, right? Yes, Dr. Vega said. We found ruins on several dead worlds. The technology was far beyond ours, but we were able to reverse engineer some of it. Those civilizations are all dead now, Jake said. They used weapons like ours against the Void Devourers, and the Void Devourers destroyed them anyway. Jake turned back to face the group. His eyes looked strange now, like they were seeing things in a different kind of light. The Void Devourers don't just eat matter and energy, Jake said. They eat reality itself. Every time we use a Galaxyrender weapon, we feed them. We make them stronger. Dr. Vega's face went pale. Are you saying the weapons are useless? No, Jake said. I'm saying we've been using them wrong. The ancient races didn't try to destroy the Void Devourers. They found a way to send them back. Where they came from? How? Admiral Chun asked. Jake closed his eyes. When the weapon had changed him, it had not just given him the ability to see through reality. It had also given him memories that were not his own. Ancient memories from civilizations that had fought this war before. They built a network, Jake said. Not weapons, but a prison. They used reality-breaking technology to create a cage made of controlled space-time distortions. A cage that exists in all dimensions at once. Jake opened his eyes and looked at Dr. Vega. We need to build something like that, but it will require every Galaxyrender device we have. And it will require someone who can see the spaces between realities to guide the construction. Someone like you, Dr. Vega said. Jake nodded. Someone like me. But Dr. Vega, there's something else you need to know. Building this prison will change whoever does it. The person who guides the construction will become something that's not quite human anymore. They'll become a guardian of reality itself. Admiral Chun looked at Jake with sad eyes. And you're volunteering for this job. I'm already changing, Jake said. Every day, I become less human and more anything else. I can feel my humanity slipping away. But maybe that's what I'm supposed to become. Maybe that's why the weapon changed me. Jake walked back to his chair and sat down. The Vorthic Alliance might help us build the prison faster. But Admiral, you need to understand what we're really asking me to do. If I become the Guardian, I'll have to stay connected to the prison forever. I'll never be able to come home. The room was quiet. Outside the windows, the stars shone peacefully. But Jake could see the darkness moving between them, getting closer every day. How long do we have? Admiral Chun asked. Jake closed his eyes and felt the movement of the void devourers through the spaces between realities. 3 weeks, he said. Maybe less. 3 weeks later, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of a massive new ship called the Reality's Gate. The ship was not built by humans alone. Vorthic engineers had worked alongside human scientists to create something that had never existed before. It was part spaceship, part weapon, and part prison. The alliance between humans and Vorthic had happened faster than anyone expected. When the Void Devourers destroyed another Vorthic world, just 5 days after the first message, Commander Zeth himself had come to Earth to make the deal. Fear made strange friends. Now, ships from both races filled the space around Earth. Vessels worked next to Vorthic warships. Engineers from both species shared technology that had been secret for centuries. They had built 12 massive ships, each one carrying a Galaxyrender device modified with Vorthic technology. But Jake knew that ships and weapons would not be enough. The real battle would be fought in the spaces between realities, where normal matter could not go. Only someone like him could guide the prison into place. Admiral Chun walked up to Jake on the bridge. She looked tired and worried, but also determined. Jake, she said, the Void Devourers will be here in 6 hours. Are you ready? Jake nodded. He had been preparing for 3 weeks, learning to control his new abilities. The change in him was almost complete now. When he looked in a mirror, his reflection sometimes flickered, as if he was not quite solid anymore. The prison network is ready, Jake said. All 12 ships are in position around the solar system. The Vorthic have set up their reality anchors. When the Devourers arrive, we'll be ready for them. Commander Zeth approached them. The tall alien moved with grace, but Jake could smell the fear on him. The Vorthic had been running from the void. Devourers for so long that terror was part of their daily life now. Human Morrison, Commander Zeth said in his wind-like voice. My people have prepared the dimensional stabilizers as you requested, but I must ask again, are you certain this plan will work? Jake looked at the alien commander. Through his changed vision, he could see that Zeth was old, much older than he appeared. The Vorthic lived for hundreds of years, and this one had been fighting the Void Devourers for most of his life. I'm not certain of anything, Jake said honestly, but I can see the pattern of the prison the ancient races built. I can feel how it worked. If we can recreate it here, we can trap the Devourers between dimensions. And if we fail, Zeth asked, then everything dies, Jake said simply. Warning alarms began sounding throughout the ship. Dr. Viga's voice came over the speakers. All ships, this is Control. We're detecting massive reality distortions approaching the edge of the solar system. The Void Devourers are here. Jake walked to the main viewing screen. At first, he could see nothing unusual. Space looked normal. Stars shone peacefully in the distance. But through his changed eyes, Jake could see the truth. Reality was being torn apart at the edge of the solar system. Great holes in space were opening, and through them came the void devourers. They looked like living shadows, pieces of absolute nothingness that ate everything they touched. How many? Admiral Chun asked. Jake counted the dark shapes moving through the holes in space. Hundreds, he said. Maybe thousands. More than we've ever seen before. As Jake watched, the first void devourer touched the edge of Pluto's orbit. The dwarf planet simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not broken apart, just gone, as if it had never been there at all. All ships, Jake said into his radio, begin charging the Galaxyrender devices. Wait for my signal before firing. The response came back from all 12 ships. Human and Vorthic voices, working together for the first time in history. Realities. Gate ready. Quantum spear charged and ready. Void hunter standing by. One by one, all 12 ships reported ready. Jake could feel the power building in the Galaxyrender devices. The air around him felt heavy with potential energy, not the void. Devourers were moving faster now. They had detected the life in the inner solar system and were hungry. Jupiter disappeared as Jake watched, then Saturn. The rings around the gas giant simply faded away like smoke. Jake, Admiral Chun said quietly, it's time. Jake closed his eyes and reached out with his changed senses. He could feel the space around the solar system like it was part of his own body. He could sense where reality was strong and where it was weak. Most importantly, he could feel the pattern of the prison that needed to be built. All ships, Jake said. Fire on my mark. 3 ... mark. 12 Galaxyrender devices fired at the same time. But instead of shooting at the void devourers, they fired at empty space around them. Jake guided each beam to a specific point, places where the fabric of reality was already thin. The effect was incredible. Instead of creating random holes in space, the weapons created a network of controlled distortions. Reality bent and twisted, in precise patterns, forming invisible walls and barriers between dimensions. Jake felt the prison taking shape around the solar system. It was working exactly as the ancient races had designed it. The void devourers found themselves trapped between layers of twisted spacetime, unable to reach the normal universe where life existed. But the effort was taking everything Jake had. He could feel his humanity burning away as he guided the prison into place. His body was becoming less solid, more like energy than matter. The prison is forming, Dr. Vega announced over the radio. Reality distortions are stabilizing. The devourers are being contained. Jake opened his eyes and saw that it was true. The void devourers were still there, but they could no longer touch normal space. They moved angrily against the invisible walls of the prison, but they could not break through. However, Jake could see that the prison was not complete. It needed a guardian, someone to maintain it and keep it stable. Someone who could exist in multiple dimensions at once. Admiral, Jake said. His voice sounded strange now, like it was coming from far away. The prison is built, but it needs someone to watch over it. Someone to make sure the devourers never escape. Admiral Chun looked at him with tears in her eyes. Jake, no. There has to be another way. There is no other way, Jake said. He was beginning to fade, becoming more transparent with each moment. This is what I was changed for. This is why the weapon chose me. Jake walked to the center of the bridge. He could feel the prison calling to him, needing him to become part of it. Tell Dr. Vega that his weapon saved the galaxy, Jake said. Tell him that all those years alone in the ice were worth it. Jake looked at Commander Zeth. Tell your people that the alliance worked. Humans and Vorthek together were strong enough to stop the devourers. Finally, Jake turned to Admiral Chun. Tell Earth that they're safe now. The galaxy is safe. But remember what happened here. Remember that some weapons are too dangerous to use without knowing the price. Jake closed his eyes and let himself become part of the prison. His consciousness expanded beyond his body, spreading through the network of twisted space-time. He could feel every part of the prison, every barrier that kept the void devourers contained. On the bridge of the reality's gate, Jake's body simply faded away. But his voice could still be heard, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I can see everything now," Jake's voice said. "I can see the entire galaxy. I can see other galaxies beyond this one. There are so many worlds, so many people living. There lives in peace, because the devourers are trapped here." Admiral Chun wiped tears from her eyes. "Will we ever see you again, Jake?" "I'll always be here," Jake's voice answered. "Watching, protecting, making sure the prison holds. Humanity has become the guardian of reality itself. That's a responsibility. That will last forever." The voice grew fainter. "But don't be afraid of that responsibility. Be proud of it. You've proven that when different peoples work together, they can overcome anything. Even the end of everything." Commander Zeph stepped forward. "Human Morrison, my people will not forget what you have done. The Vorthik hegemony owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid." "No debt," Jake's voice whispered. "We're all part of the same galaxy now. We're all guardians together." And then Jake's voice was gone. But throughout the solar system, on every ship and every world, people could feel something new. A presence watching over them. A guardian who had given up his humanity to protect everyone else's. The void devourers raged in their prison, but they could not escape. Reality was safe. The galaxy was safe. And somewhere in the spaces between dimensions, Jake Morrison stood eternal watch, making sure it stayed that way forever. Years later, when human children asked about the war, their parents would tell them about the brave pilot who saved the galaxy. They would say that on clear nights, if you looked up at the stars and listened carefully, you could still hear Jake's voice in the silence between worlds, keeping watch over everything that lived and breathed and dreamed that the galaxy had found its guardian, and the guardian had found his purpose.